We will now consider Isaac Newton, who lived from 1643 to 1727. This is going to be brief, and you'll see why in a moment. First of all, let's talk about him discovering the laws of gravity. Isaac Newton changed the way we understand the universe. Revered in his own lifetime. Didn't have to die and then they discover his brilliance later. He discovered the laws of gravity and motion and invented calculus. He helped to shape our rational worldview. Did an apple really fall on Newton's head while he sat under a tree reading? There's no evidence to suggest the fruit actually landed on his head. But Newton's observation caused him to ponder why apples always fall straight to the ground rather than sideways or upward, and inspired him to, get this, eventually develop his law of universal gravitation. Unlike Jastrow, Tyson, Hawking, and Sagan, Isaac Newton firmly believed in the Bible as God's sacred word of truth. He studied it regularly and was a self-described Christian. Wow! We don't hear a whole lot about that, do we? Based on his belief in the Holy Writ, he concluded that God created the heavens and the earth. Again, in Hebrew, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashemayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning, God created the earth, Genesis 1:1, in Hebreo, or Hebrew. He also believed that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, not God himself. That's interesting, right? Newton concluded that the doctrine of the Trinity was not found in the Bible at all. Fascinating. Is Tyson tangled? Well, I think we know the answer to that, but here we go. It took the mind of the millennium's most brilliant and influential person, Isaac Newton, my emphasis, to realize that gravity's mysterious action at a distance arises from the natural effects of every bit of matter. Guess who wrote that? Neil deGrasse Tyson, in his wonderful book, other than saying that God doesn't exist, pardon me, I almost choked on that. Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, published in 2017. As you will recall in one of the other videos, I read that and I responded to it, right? Okay, I rebutted it. Now, Tyson is saying that Newton is the millennium's, look at that, most brilliant and influential person. Wow. Second bullet point. If Newton, an avowed Christian, is the millennium's most brilliant and influential person, then why isn't Tyson embracing Christianity, or at least, I don't know, adopting the belief in the Creator? That's kind of interesting to me. These guys just kind of like, okay, we'll take their science, they're brilliant, but okay, they believe in God, well, their brilliance stops there. When in fact, in the case of Einstein and Newton, their brilliance started with the Bible. Before they became scientists, they were reading the Bible. What's the problem there? None whatsoever, except that we're not taught this in school, unfortunately. That's why it's probably pretty not new to most of you. You're shocked, like, really? Wow, I didn't know that. In fact, it's said of Isaac Newton that of all of his writings, they counted the words, most of his words talk about the Bible and religion as opposed to science. So he was more, if this is true, he was more of a Bible believer than he was a scientist. Incredible. Well, Newton is the Ike that I like. Yes, Isaac Newton, Ike. I'm crazy about this Ike. He's the Ike of the millennium. Well, were there other Ikes? Yes. For example, the other Ike that I like is Eisenhower. Yes, very interesting person. He was president, of course, President Eisenhower. But when he ran, he had this button here, I like Ike, that everyone wore, his supporters wore. What's interesting about him is that not only was he president, he became president, and his vice president was Richard Nixon, who also later became president. Eisenhower's mother was an African American member of Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, one of Jehovah's Witnesses. That's her to the right. Ida Eisenhower. They don't teach you that in school. But I assure you, it is true. Oh my goodness. Well, what about another Ike that I also like, but not as much as Ike Newton? Okay, Isaac Newton. I like Isaac Newton, but no, not like Ike of Ike and Tina Turner. Okay, different kind of Ike, two totally different people. Well, you know, there it is. Enough said. Let's go to the next slide. Well, now, this is interesting. To the far left, we see a depiction of a younger Isaac Newton. In the middle is his death mask. The first time I saw it is when I took an online course at Edinburgh University. It was rather interesting to me. I mean, very striking features. Seemed like he had a warm personality. That was my first impression. To the far right is something that's, I don't know, a little bit eerie to me, but that's a recreation as done by artificial intelligence of Isaac Newton, predicated or based on his death mask. But there he was, strong Christian man, strong features, who had a warm glow about himself. Very impressed with him. So what's the bottom line? This: Newton didn't have atheistastroagnosis because he was a devout Christian. He had no use for an astrophysical psychologist like me. That's a wonderful thing. Next up, Copernicus.